You're watching Day Trading Options Daily Review for July 14th, 2015. I'm Scott, he's Alan, and we're going to show you 2 or 3 trades that made 10% or more in 10 minutes or less. The purpose of this, show you that day in, day out, there are opportunities to make a significant amount of money, and by that we mean 10%, in a very insignificant amount of time. By that we mean way less than the 10 years it would take your bank to make your money increase 10%, and certainly with a lot less risk than there would be if you just bought a stock in the stock market, or if you bought a penny stock, which may double or triple in price or may go bankrupt, or if you were in maybe something like the Forex. And you know, real estate in many places is also considered, you know, a sure thing, particularly where we are, which is Vancouver, British Columbia, which is now priced in the same range as New York and Hong Kong and Tokyo and London. But, you know, if you were to talk to some Americans in 2007 who bought a $675,000 house, it would have been inconceivable to them that a couple of short years later they would be selling that house for $350,000, which is what happened to a friend of mine. So the real estate market is an interesting one if you're in at the right time and you get out at the right time, which is pretty much the same for anything. And you can have a bubble. And the nice thing about what we're doing is at the end of the day, your money is sitting hopefully securely in your bank account, or certainly in your brokerage account. And there's no risk to it in terms of you've bought a house and the house drops in value overnight, or you bought a stock and the stock drops in value overnight. It's just sitting there waiting for you to make another trade. So these are very short-term trades, which means that you can sleep pretty much like a baby every night, because you don't have to worry that some central bank somewhere is going to do something to the mortgage rate, which is going to cause your real estate market to crash, or it's going to cause the stock market to do a huge correction, or whatever else you might be putting your money into. So that's why we like it. And that's why we're trying to show you how many opportunities there are for you to actually do what we suggest is possible. Of course, it takes some training. We have courses. The links are below. We've given you a nice discount. And we have a software that helps. And once you take the courses, you get a free 1-month trial of the software so that you can practice it and prove for yourself that it works. So having said that, the only thing I want to mention before we turn this over to Alan is make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Just click on that little button, subscribe, so you don't miss any of our exciting episodes. So with that out of the way, Alan, July 14th, 2015, obviously that was just an awful day. There were no opportunities to make any money at all, and we can just sign off now, right?
Yeah, they should just close the stock market, because it's been running for 200 years, and I think, you know, that's enough.
It's enough. That's right.
And you know, they shouldn't call it New York anymore. It should be just called York, because it's also, you know, old York. Well, okay, we don't try to do a lot of training in these things, but I'm just gonna, because we're showing you some trades here. Here you can see that it's low volume start. It tells you all that stuff. You don't have to guess. You don't want to guess. That's actually why it has all that stuff there. So the market looks like it's confusing. It says it's a bull trend, but it's got some red, and this is only the 3rd minute of the market, which can be pretty choppy on some days, but it's not real strong in either direction. It says strong cyclical, means, see this business here, up, down. We don't know where it's going. It could go either way. So you got, you know, lots of choices. You can just say, well, I'm just going to sit on the sidelines, or you can take some of the clues, and that's the beauty about practice. You're 20-day above. You're definitely above yesterday. This thing's already got a strong start. It's got some decent volume, tiny little bit of red against you. You know, experienced traders, they'd look at that and say, well, is this a gap day? And it's like, this is the daily candles right here. No, it's not a gap. It just looks like yesterday was a big day. People loved it, and it can go up. So you can do a little bit of thinking if you want to. You don't have to, though. You can just use the rules. So in this case, we're just going to go hit the buy button, because I don't have a big headwind against me on on the market. In fact, this looks like a nice continuation of yesterday. It started at yesterday's high, and it looks like it's just going to keep going. So I'm going to hit the buy button. I'm not expecting it to run all day. I just want to get a short burst of profit. And we're just continuing basically from yesterday's momentum. So here's 1 minute, 7%, 2, 16%. And yeah, you can ride it further if you want, but I don't know which way the market's going. I'm getting mixed signals. So I'm just going to take the profit. That's the whole idea, and leave. And so that's Google. Let's go look at another stock that's a little bit more on the red side, and watch that one for a red setup and see if the red setup happens. So here, it hasn't broken the risk zone. And that's the point, is I'm waiting for it to tell me. As a matter of fact, it says I like green better. And similar to what we just looked at, I'm above the previous high, 4-day break. So that's a pretty good, run. And so then the question is, will it go up? Will it go down? Well, that looks pretty good for a start. So I'm just going to say it's mixed. It's a little bit risky. This is the beauty of practice. You can go hit the buy button now. I'm missing K-band color, but I'm going to show you what happens, because some people are like, well, how did you know? Well, we're going to call this a practice trade here. So it's 4%. It's 3%. Now it's minus 10%. It's like, ouch. Should I get out? Well, you're going to get some flutter when you've got some volume behind and it's a mixed market, right? Because it's not strong one way. In fact, it told you it was cyclical. So what's going to happen? Let's just take one more minute, and then you see it's looking good again. But do we get out? See, these are not as good a trade, and that's the whole point of practice. We're getting up to 9:45, so it better make us our money, or we might be in for more of a rough ride. I've got 1 minute more before, and it would have taken you out with your 10% right there, and now you're up 25%. See, this is the kind of stuff that the practice will give you some confidence in, so that you know, oh, well, when it's this kind of setup, it's okay, but it's not great. So what would be your I really got to get out point? Well, how about the opening price in this case? Well, how do you know that? Well, that's what practice does for you. It makes you a master of anything. You can be a super chef if you wanted to, or, there's a ton of things. So let's go look at a stock that was on the red side this morning, and let's see how that turned out. Because remember, this market's mixed. I'm going back in time, and we're going to go look at a different stock. Now, this one here, this is why these indicators are here, did not break the risk zone. It's still inside. So the setup, this is about following rules, it hasn't crossed into this yet. So we're just using the tool, and then it fell over. Okay, well, now what? Well, now it seems to really like red. Well, is going red a good idea when the market is kind of green? Well, that's up to you, but let's just take a look at this trade here and see how it turns out. And remember, this is mixed market, right? Slightly above, but you see here, 52-week break above. So it gapped up. You see, that's the thing about gaps. There's not that much to learn, but it tells you right here that it's a gap. You have to treat gaps a little bit differently. And there's really not that much to learn. And let's just say you bought that. I wouldn't, but let's just say you bought that. That's the point of the practice. So 1 minute, I haven't made any money. I'm just basically break even. Now I'm losing a bit of money, 6%. Now I'm out and I'm losing money. Was there, well, if I hang in, what happens if you hang in? Well, hanging in worked out on this one. Doesn't mean it's always going to work out. Well, how much do I hang in? Well, now hanging in is a bad idea. Well, how did you know? Well, like I said, there's things to learn, but remember, there's clues. You were told this was a gap. It's most likely going to fill to that place right there and then bounce and then go back up again. So like I say, it's not that much. You just have a few things to learn. It's pretty easy. It's actually easier than most things you learned in school. Well, that's it for today, and let's just look at a recap of the stocks that we liked a little bit better. So here was Google was a better play. We knew what it was going to turn out generally, that we were looking for green. We got green and made 16% in 2 minutes. AMBA was a bit of a choppier one and then finally turned out, and that was 25%. And Amazon, you could have made some money or you could have lost some money, but that's the whole point of practice, is you want to get good at it. And if you look at it, you can see it had some signs, but you kind of knew it was going to be messy. And that's the point, is if you just look at the signs that said, I'm backing up here a little, that said, well, it's going to be a little bit messy and hesitant and bad for you. And here's a clue for those that already know. Right there, you've got mixed signals. So how do you know it's going to be messy? It told you. So that's where, Scott says you might end up, positive results or negative results, and it depends on you. Yeah. Did you look at the clues? So that's it.
We're going to call you Sherlock Holmes from now on.
Okay.
I'll just be Watson.
You're more than Watson.
Okay, well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you subscribe button in the corner. Hit the description if you want to take a look at some of our courses. They all come with 30-day money-back guarantees and a 1-month free trial of the software, so you can try everything out, kick the tires, see what you think. And it takes discipline and it takes practice, and that's, of course, what we're looking for. So if you have no discipline, you're just looking for some get-rich-quick scheme, please go away. You'll notice very little in the way of hype. But wait, there's more. We've got a special bonus for you if you act before midnight tonight. None of that stuff. We just want to show you day in, day out. We've got over 1,500 students in most of our courses. I think 4,500 in all three. But there's duplicates or triplicates, if you will. And they're very, very happy. Lots of really good reviews. Again, the links are in the descriptions. Check it out. Certainly, you can leave comments on here or contact us through wavesofprofit.com, and we'll be happy to talk to you about how you can use this way to transform your financial situation. Because I'll tell you, the 40-year plan is not working. As we're speaking right now, Greece has agreed to the European Union's demands. So if you were Greek, you just went through a period where your banks would not let you take more than 50 or 60 euros out at any one time, and you would be grateful to be able to get that amount of your money out of the bank. And now they're going to put a whole bunch of austerity measures, which just means life is miserable. And that's not really good. We think that's actually outrageous and awful and terrible, that people can be working for years and years and years, and then something beyond their control, really. I mean, it was their government's actions, not the individual Greeks' actions, that caused this problem. You can have a hard time, and it doesn't just. This is just the flavor of the month. A few years ago it was Argentina, and then it was Brazil, and then, it seems like every country, it was a recession in the United States, every country seems to go through this, and that's just because of the system that we have in place. This is one way of making sure that you're not quite, this is actually using the system against itself and taking advantage of it, because there's always going to be people trading, and you have to make sure you're trading the right stocks or the right calls, puts, have volume, and we go through all of that in our training. Because there are 5,500 stocks that you could be looking at. And that's just, by the time you've looked at a few, you've missed all the opportunities. So that's obviously not the way to do it. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.